Good morning, folks, and welcome to Money Truth Moments with our very own money guru, Money Whisperer, all around great financial planner, Judy Copenbarger. How are you, Judy?
Hi, Carlos. What a greeting. I am awesome. This is one of the best weeks of the whole year. Family time, presents under the tree, lots of good food. It's been awesome.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Same like you just described. It's been a great week. It's been, kind of getting you back to what really matters in life. And, as we wrap up the year, you kind of take a look back and, and it's funny, folks, if you're just joining us for the very first time, welcome. Want to make sure that if you're not following Judy, you do so at judycopenbarger.com. And you guys are in for a great treat because today it's not our typical show that we do every Tuesday morning. This is a look back at 2022, and there's some great highlights that we're going to be talking about. And this is one of my favorite times of the year because we get to see just what we've covered, how many people you have helped, great stories, and different things like that too over the years. So, what do you say we get started down memory lane?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So I'm going to take us back because I think it was also very important
Mhm.
that when we left the pandemic, when we went through all of that, we kind of started off 2022 really was all about trying to recover and planning and really getting your situation, making your situation better. Whether you were a business that had to pivot, businesses that you lost and had to restart all over, folks that lost jobs and had to kind of reinvent themselves, get additional stuff. And when you look at the beginning of the year, what's some of the things that you recall that kind of stood out for you that I know we talked a lot about, but with your clients and different things that you saw, what were some things that really just kind of like, I'm glad I'm going down this path to help.
Yeah, lessons from COVID, right? Financial and otherwise. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was really kind of a tricky time, and we did start this year with new hope and a new sense of a new normal, like the big pivot. Everybody was talking about the pivot. But one thing that struck me, that really, I think there are two to discuss. The first thing is not everybody suffered during COVID financially.
Right.
Many businesses thrived. A lot of businesses figured out how to scale, how to come up with new services, new products. And the problems I was helping them solve were, how do we scale fast enough, hire enough people fast enough to keep up with demand? So not all businesses suffered. We heard about those. The small businesses did for sure, but there were sectors in the industry that did really well. That was the one thing that kind of struck me because the world was talking about it, how everybody was in a worse place, and not everybody was. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think what we learned is when you're prepared, you do better, no matter what it is. Whether you're preparing for a graduation, you're preparing for a new job, you're preparing for traveling. Preparation always helps. It gives you more confidence, it gives you more options, more leeway. And what we discovered financially through the COVID issues is people that had savings did better. So when there was a run on the market for toilet paper and cans of beans and things like that, people that had cash available fared better. People that had, for businesses, business owners, people that had lines of credit available, even personal HELOCs, like home equity lines of credit, people that needed to get their hands on money that had it readily available or had their own bank, they were being their own bank, they did really well. And during those times where we didn't know where it was going to come from, we're trying to keep the lights on and keep the groceries going and things like that, when we weren't working maybe as much as we were before. Some people did well with the programs that were available, just, refilling the coffers with cash. Others did not have that available. Maybe they had a small business and they didn't qualify for the business loans that were available. So the people that were ready with cash, either family money or their own savings or their own lines of credit, really did well. And that was just a matter of being prepared. It's just like people that had extra food in their pantries, toilet paper stocked up in the pantry, batteries, things like that. They did better. So those are some lessons that I recall kind of talking about and discussing with our audience early in this year. And I can't hear you, Carlos. Are you there?
There we go. All
Oh,
right.
there you are.
So one of the things also that reminds me in this conversation is, when we were talking about recovery, we were talking about planning and all of that. We talked about, and the question came up quite a few times throughout the year about how do we know who we should trust, right? How do we know who we should be talking to and all of that? And one of the key things I think that you also share with our audience, which was to this day, it's been something that you kind of follow life through the 4-H, right? You want to talk about the 4-H. This, I think, it's a great process that you discussed, and I think folks need to kind of remember that as we kind of wrap up the year.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point about who do you trust? And there are ways to figure that out. So you should go back and watch the 4-H video. That's something worth doing. But really, it comes down to who are you going to trust for technical help? Because most people in the financial industry are coming back at you with like a sales proposition or a product they want you to invest in or something that they want you to buy where there's a commission involved. There's some kind of a financial reward for the person on the other side of the transaction. And when you really dig down and you're able to understand how to pick that apart and exactly how much are they making, exactly what services am I having delivered to me, you'll do much better. And so if you think about that technical help, we talked about, well, who do I trust? If it's an insurance person, go to a wholesaler. If it's a financial planner, go to a CFP, a certified financial planner. They have to have an education. They had to go to college. They had to study all the disciplines of finance and be able to work through all of those to give you, hopefully, the best advice that's available. If you're investing, if you look for an AIF credential, that's an accredited investment fiduciary. That's someone who by law has to prove that they're giving you the best advice, all the options that they looked at, which ones are best for you and why they're suitable for you, while they're a good fit for you, while they're cost effective for you. They have to prove that, right? So a CFP, an AIF, and if you're looking for insurance or products like that, a wholesaler would be way better because the premiums are lower. That's more
Mhm.
money in your pocket to achieve other goals.
And it's also, we talked about the reason for this is that there's a lot of folks that have gotten burned over the years, right? And that level of trust is just, just like in anything, not just in finance, right? You go to a mechanic, they rip you off or whatever, then it's like everybody's a crook or whatever. You know what I mean? But I think what we've been able to capture in your show is, folks, not everybody's created equal. you know, Judy's the real deal, and I think it's also very important to let folks, or remind folks, I should say, why you do what you do, Judy. I know we've talked about this before, but it's a good opportunity just to remind folks, like, why are you here? Why do you spend so much time sharing everything that you do?
Well, I would say if you had to put it into a word, it probably is a word related to legacy. It's something that I want to leave long after I leave the planet. It's information that works. It's anecdotes, stories, templates, tools that work for anybody. Whether you're starting out and you're in debt and you're getting married and you're just living in a tent down by the river,
Ah,
or you're very successful and you have businesses all over the country. Many of our clients do, and subsidiaries of those, and they're employing lots of people and helping the planet in so many ways with their services and products they offer. Great businesses, interesting people, fantastic businesses. And it's the same process. There are the basic fundamental things you do. Another video to check out or another podcast to look at is the big seven mistakes. You can flip those. If you avoid these mistakes, they become seven principles that if you always follow those, like seven, biblical wisdom, those seven things that always work, you're going to avoid more than 90% of the mistakes people make financially. So look at that one, the big seven. That will really be helpful for you. But I think it's just a matter of getting the tools, the right people, everything lined up to just have a great financial future. And it's just possible. Which brings me to another theme of this last year. It was hope.
yeah. So hope is very important in a lot of ways. We discussed hope, I believe, in maybe a couple of the shows. I know for sure.
Mhm.
Um, share something that stood out for you in one of the episodes, or even after the episode when you talk to clients about hope. What's something that really has stood out for you?
Yeah, well, for me, hope is just when you do something more, something better, something different to make life easier, to get you closer to the goals you have, to move you toward the objective, to get you on the path toward the destination, like on a GPS.
Mhm.
If you're heading north, I've talked about if you're heading north to Seattle and you're leaving Southern California, all you got to do is get on the 5 and go north and don't get off. Why are you in Albuquerque? Why are you in Biloxi? I mean, you might still make it to Seattle, but it's a long, costly, painful way to get there.
Right.
And maybe you enjoy the journey, but it's not the most efficient way. So if we're looking for efficiency, being cost effective, getting to the end of our financial lives well, where we leave legacy for our kids and our grandkids, where we can pay for education, we can do those trips we want to do. We can join the country club. We can fly our kids out to visit us or go see them. All the things that you want to do in the next season, maybe it's a villa at the beach or a cabin in the woods. All these things that we want to do, if you plan and you get on the right path and do the right things with the right people and avoid mistakes, you're going to get there. And so that's really what the hope is. I think another aspect of hope that we've discussed this year that's worth reviewing is getting the right people to help you. If you have people in your family, people in your community, in your church, another scout leader, they're successful financially, not just on the outside, but they are doing the right things. Talk to them, find out what they're doing, find out what they're not doing anymore, learn from their mistakes. If you have a trusted person in your family, if you don't find one, we talked about some of the ways that you could kind of vet a professional that helps you, or maybe the best place to look. Like, it reminds me of that game as a kid where something is hidden and you say, you're getting warmer. Oh,
Right.
you're
Yep.
cold. Go the other
Oh,
way.
yeah.
You're getting warmer. This just helps you go to the warmer spot to get closer to the outcome that's going to suit you well. And so those are some things that we talked about that I think is worth it, particularly having professionals or mentors in your life, family members that have come before you that have really, some people have that Midas touch. Find out
Mhm.
what they're doing. Who are they working with? What have they learned? And sometimes they learn the hard way. So you want to hear those stories too. What should I avoid doing? Right. So, and this community is a great place to do that. The people that are having conversations in these social medias that we've set up, sometimes, you might have a lesson like this or one of our typical podcasts where you're learning principles, what to do, what not to do, how to invest, should I have a will, what kind of trust, all of that. But you really can learn more from other people's experiences, sharing what they did, what happened in their family, what they learned from that, what they're doing well now. You can learn more from other people than from just the technical knowledge. So find a community, make your own, or join our community, and that's going to be a way that you'll be able to learn and apply what you've learned to get your successful future that you want.
And folks, again, thanks for joining us this morning. We're kind of taking a look back at 2022. And if you're not following Judy, do so at judycopenbarger.com. And actually, you know what? Let's talk about your website for a moment. We've talked, a lot of great topics throughout the year, and then just share with folks what they're going to be able to find on your website.
Yeah, you're looking at it right here, judycopenbarger.com. And that's a website that has all kinds of videos on it, short videos of what to do, what not to do, stories of people actually doing life financially and otherwise. And we call it Money Truth. So, and money truth is a noun. It looks like it's, the type of truth. It looks like it's maybe a verb, something you do. It's really money truth. You can put a dash there, but it's just the truth about money, how money moves, what you pay for things that you didn't know, all of those hidden fees, what you need to know about different insurance or protective legal documents that can help you. Should I have a S corporation or a C corporation or a partnership or an LLC? When should I do that? How should I do that? Where do I start? What should I pay for that? All of those answers are in the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program. And you can access that through judycopenbarger.com. There's all kinds of articles there. And if you go into the program, the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program, there are the 5 pillars of business, 5 pillars of finance that are covered there. The protective ones, the growth ones, taxation is a big one. And there's courses in every one of those programs. So go there, learn what you can. All that stuff is free or next to free. You can also buy the book, and it's accessible through judycopenbarger.com. The book is Money, Truth, and Life. That's kind of the cornerstone book of this learning. There's other materials, but that's something that can really help you get a handle on what you need to know and what you want to apply first to be most efficient. So go there, judycopenbarger.com. There's all kinds of information there that you're going to want to key into and take advantage of.
I think what's been also very awesome, and I've heard this from folks as well too, is not only the fact that you have all that wealth of information on your website, all the YouTube videos that are on there, all the information, the book, and all of that, but you're here every week, also, talking about different subjects, different things that come up, and I think that's really made an impact on a lot of folks just to be a little bit more at ease when it comes to their finances and how they're going to, look forward ahead. One of the things also that stood out is we've always talked about the here and the now, but you've also covered about the little ones, right? How should we be preparing them? Do you want to talk a little bit about that and just remind folks like, hey, you know what? Next year, 2023, we're starting over. So if you have little ones, I
Yeah.
think some great advice would be great.
Yeah, and our little ones are a year older than they were this time last year, right? So, some concepts that might have been just over their heads or out of their reach last year, maybe it's time now. So you want to be working with them on earning, spending, managing, saving money, giving money, all of these concepts that we're doing. And what's interesting about little ones is it just automatically happens. The electricity automatically shows up in the house. The groceries automatically show up in the cupboards in
Yeah.
the kitchen. They don't see the transactions. And when I work with young people and even some not so young, the ones that really have a hard time with their spending plan, with their budget, like I've been here before. I'm spending and it's so short and I make more than I used to and it's still short. Why is that? It's those basic habits of not having the experience of managing cash flow as it comes into the household. And the question becomes, I have $1. Where do I put it? I have several dollars. How do I allocate the money, the income that I have, the inflow of cash? And it's learning those skills that is so valuable. And that's something we can do with our littles. Involve them, take them to the store, whether you give them an allowance or not, or they get money for Christmas or their birthday. They have cash, but it's not that they have it and they stash it and they save it and the piggy bank is big, fat, and full. It's how they spend the money that is the skill we want them to have. And most of us didn't have that advantage as a kid. We didn't get to spend our own money. And so we went off to college, got our first job, and all of a sudden it's like, I have to spend money. I have no idea how to do it. Like it
Mhm.
means nothing because I don't have any experience. The parents did it all for me. So the gift that you can give your kids, and think about at their different developmental stages, their different ages, what is appropriate for them to learn. We have a whole series of information on this as well. What can they learn about earning, spending, saving, managing, and giving money? How do they balance all of that? The answer to the question, where do I put my money? And let them save up for something, go to the store and help them spend it. And little patience, maybe they're going to count out all the nickels on the counter. It's okay. Just plan extra time for that trip. But let them practice spending money. It's not saving that's hard, it's spending that takes some skill. So let them practice that at age appropriate levels. If they're 5, if they're 10, if they're 15, even at 15, 16, they should have their own line of credit, their own credit card. Scary, right? But they should have,
Yep.
maybe it's a $300 or a $100 credit card that you co-sign on to establish credit. So by the time they get to college, they already know responsibly how to use it. They're going to need it when they get their own apartment or buy their first car. They're going to need credit. So it's not a bad thing. You just want to give them just enough rope, give them just enough leeway
Yep.
to learn to practice with that. You would buy something for $40 and pay it off over 3 months. You're establishing credit and they're learning how to allocate those funds. So those are things you can do with little kids, the piggy bank, one piggy bank for earning or for saving, one piggy bank for giving, one piggy bank for a goal that they're going to, save for. And a month later you go to the toy store and they get their favorite thing. So these are things that you can do with your littles. And I encourage you to do that.
And it's a perfect transition because just recently you also talked about, let's transition from piggy banks to buckets. right? So
Yep.
you've discussed buckets on that, and maybe now it's a good time to transition into it. Just remind folks, we said piggy banks for little ones, buckets for the adults, for all of us. You know what I mean? But just what is, when you talked about buckets, what is that?
Yeah. Well, that's part of the concept of laddering. And that's how, as an adult, we answer the question, where do I put my dollar? And you get paid and you might have 5,000 of them or 10,000 of them. Where do I put them? How much goes into housing? How much goes into my transportation? How much do I spend on my cell phone and my subscriptions to Netflix and all the other stuff? How much do I spend on groceries? How much do I give my kids to go party? What do I do with these dollars? How much of that should I be saving for later? So the concept of laddering, and that's something you want to look up. It was a two-part series that was huge, 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 huge. So laddering, and what it does is it helps you allocate where the dollars are going to go based on your time frame. So what dollars am I going to need right now? I need to have liquid cash available, my savings. If something happens, garbage disposal goes out, I need a new one. Don't put it on a credit card. You use your own cash from your cash reserves. So beyond cash reserves, money that you might need right now, what dollars will I need in a few years? Maybe there's a goal coming up, a trip coming up, tuition that needs to be paid. Maybe there's a car that needs to be replaced or repaired. So what are those things that I can foresee I'm going to need money for in 3, 4, or 5 years from now? And then what dollars should go in some kind of an investment for long term? I might not need those dollars for 6 years, 8 years, 20 years. What should I be doing with those dollars? Those are three different buckets: now, soon, and later. So that answers the question on buckets. And there's an art to it. There's a science to it. You want to look that up if you're not familiar. It will take a lot of the guessing out of this and give you a lot of peace of mind and confidence with how you allocate your money.
Awesome. So I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to give you a word, and I want you to think back, like reflect on where that word kind of puts you in throughout the year. And the word is generosity.
Oh, yeah.
What is that, when you hear that word? What does it put you back as you look back in the year?
Well, it makes me really present because that's an important feature in our lives and the lives of a lot of people in our word or in our world. I would say the happiest people on the planet I know, the most fulfilled, the most satisfied, the most loving, connected people are the ones who have that generous heart. They're not afraid to open their hands and give. And it seems like the more they do, the more that comes in. And I think that's a biblical principle too, right? It's just you can't outgive God. So those people that have that as part of their habit, of part of how they allocate their money, they're helping other people. They're putting money, time, and effort into causes they care about. They're helping animals. They're helping people in faraway places. They're feeding people who are hungry. Mosquito nets for people that are dying of malaria. Things like that are just meaningful. And so people that have generosity as part of their lives are just, I mean, they're amazing, impactful, and I think all of us have a little bone in us that kind of wants to do that. Maybe we feel we can't afford it right now, but there's something that we can do. And I encourage you, if it hasn't been part of who you are, take your life level up a notch or two and add a little generosity. We had a challenge this year where people that give away a certain percentage of their money or a certain amount of money every year, take it up by 1% every year and see what happens. That's been a fun experiment. I'm going to write a book on that one day, just the impact of doing that on your lives. But you might consider that challenge for this next year.
No, and that's huge, and that's definitely something for us to really think about.
Mhm.
Um, so as we get close to the end of the show, also I want to make sure that you talked a lot about also tech skills, right? There's things that are out there that you should be aware of. There's things that are out there that you should be implementing in what you're doing every day. You want to touch on that very briefly, please?
Yeah, the big 7 mistakes that will implode your financial future and how to avoid them. So it's kind of like a short checklist. And when you're ready to invest money or you're ready to save money or buy an insurance product or invest in whatever you're doing, if you go through this list of 7 and make sure you're not violating any of the code, any of these principles, you will avoid all the mistakes that cause people problems. And I'll list four of them for you. The other three you're going to have to go catch up and watch the video. One of them we've already discussed, and that is laddering with the three buckets, right? Balancing, that's having the right amount of equity and the right amount of interest related instruments. And there's a very magical formula of how much you should have that's in the market and how much you should have that's not. That's important. Diversifying. Diversification is one of the seven things people forget to do. They get so excited about this new product or this new company or this new investment option or some crypto something, right? Or real estate. And they put all their eggs in one basket. That's not diversifying. And so we don't want to get all excited and be lopsided, or we would say in the industry, top heavy in one sector or one type of investment. You want to spread it out. And that's a way to manage and reduce risk. Another thing that is very important, and you'll probably never see it in a financial treatise, but it's don't be in a hurry. This is the fourth of the seven. Don't be in a hurry. If you're making a rush decision, anything to do with finances, it's probably not going to be a good one. If somebody's pressuring you to do it right now, it's grand floor opportunity. You got to hurry. The opportunity is going to fade away. It's not going to be as good later. Run the other way. There's never a hurry when it comes to any estate planning decision, investment decision, any financial borrowing decision. You never have to hurry. And people make mistakes when they do.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
take your time. That's four of the seven. The other three are just as important and as critical to know. So check that out. I think it'll be valuable for you and your family to know.
Excellent. And I'm going to ask, so rather than today going through our standard, we always have a great challenge, right? And I don't know if you want to give folks a challenge or you want to end the show in a different way today, but I'm going to leave that option up to you.
Oh, I love this. I feel so powerful. Well, I think the challenge is to make your own challenge. I do always like some kind of an outcome from time together like this, where you don't just say that was interesting or I learned a thing or two. You apply it and you make it matter at your house. So I would say of the things that we discussed streamlining, we discussed clearing, generosity, preparation, hope, technical things, how to get the right people on your team, put them on the bench and have them help you do your thing. We discussed those a couple technical things. We talked about laddering. We talked about, a couple of these technical things, the 4-H's, things that will help you. I guess the challenge is do something. You've got, just a few days left in this year. When you're thinking about how you want this next year to go, what is it that you want to really focus on that will make the biggest difference for you financially? And maybe it goes beyond the money truth of finance. Maybe it goes into relationships. It goes into confidence. It goes into security. It goes into, all these other, kind of areas of life. You can't untangle them, right? If your finances don't work, relationships will suffer. If your relationships aren't right, your health might suffer. Your job world might suffer. So all of these things work together, and you can't take them apart. Everything impacts everything. And so to be able to do that, I think that the best challenge I could offer, or the best advice I could offer, is think about this next year and what do you want to do more, better, different, to this time next year when we're looking back, say, that was the best year ever. I squeezed the most juice out of it. I got the most impact. I went farther than I thought I could. I put these things in place. So my challenge is for you to make your own challenge based on what it is you want to accomplish in this next year.
You've heard it, folks. I'm also going to kindly request that you share. I want to end the show with that story with the lady in the hair. People that missed that story, I think, would benefit from it. And it's I'm not going to say anymore because I want you to share that.
Yeah, well, it kind of brings us back to hope. It brings us back to our outlook. If you think you can't do it, you're right. If you think you can do it, you're right. And there's so much to just our outlook, just our glass half full kind of attitude. And this gal I was sharing about a few weeks ago had that. And she had gone through some things in her life, and she loved her parents. She was just a very proud woman, and she had a hair thinning problem, and it was going, right? And so one day she woke up and looked in the mirror and there were 3 hairs on her head, and she says, I'm going to make this a great day today. I think I will braid my hair. And so she took those 3 little hairs and she braided them, and she had a great day. The next day she woke up and looked in the mirror and there were only 2 hairs left on her head. And she said, "Today is the perfect day. I'm going to make it awesome, and I'm going to part it right down the middle." And she did. And she had a great day. The next day she looked in the mirror, and you guessed it, right? 1 hair left on the top of her head. Only 1. She said, "Today is the day for a ponytail. That's what I'll do." And she did. And it was the most amazing day ever. She just had this outlook that something about her made her see the best things. Next day, the worst thing happened. No hairs left. So she thought a minute and looked in the mirror again and thought a minute. She says, the best thing about today is I never have to spend all that time fixing my hair ever again.
You
And
know,
she
I
had the
love that
best
story.
day ever. Yeah.
I love that story, and it's a great way to end this year. I think I speak on behalf of Judy and myself on here. Folks, thanks for joining us this entire year. Judy has shared a lot. Make sure that you put some comments on there if you have questions or topics that come up for next year as well too. Let us know so Judy can address them as well. But hey, any last parting words for 2022, Judy?
Oh, wow. When you're looking back, if there are things that you didn't accomplish or didn't do as well as you had hoped, forgive yourself for that. And if there are things that you did accomplish, celebrate those things. And then prepare for next year. What plans and objectives do you have for next year?
Awesome. Well, blessings to you. It's been a great year with you. Lots of learning, folks. If you're not following Judy, do so at judycopenbarger.com. There's great things coming. So make sure you stay tuned, you share the stream, and you always make sure that you pay attention to your finances, right? So until
Absolutely.
next year, Judy, I'll see you then.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone.
All right.